What's the phrase again? Oh, right. What goes up will absolutely crash and burn on the way down. You've tuned in to New Job, Who Dis? Well, hello, darlings, lover cheeses, and lover squeezes. Welcome to another delightful episode of New Job Who Dis, episode 42. Isn't that a magical number? There's some number, like the answer to the world is 42 or something. Anyway, hello, welcome back. I'm so glad you're here. We are getting closer and closer, really close, in fact, to the end of New Job Who Dis, where you, the listener, the devoted listener who has been listening since day one, and I know you're out there, you will see how I am transformed from being this day worker, working stiff, to the glorious, gorgeous, and effervescent pro wrestling manager to the stars, Halston Boddy. How did we get there? There's a long journey, 20 plus weeks of me talking at length about my experiences, my jobs, my career goals, my dreams, my hopes, my failures, and a lot of failures, in fact. But we are here to finally get to how did we even get our toes back into the realm, much less the water. We're just in the pool room. We're not even in the water or the shallow end yet. How did we become Halston Boddy? How did it get to becoming a pro wrestling manager this far into my life cycle? Oh, well, sit right down and grab a cup of hot cocoa because we're here for it. To my lovely 13 lovely listeners who are out there, welcome back. I'm glad you're here. We are almost through it, and I'm so glad we've taken this journey together. If you are brand new to New Job Who Dis, by all means, spend the holidays, spend your quarantine. If you are staying at home, trapped in the times we are living in, by all means, you have 40 hours of programming to get through to get a slice, a taste of what I've been through, to get a semblance of understanding of how somebody at my experience can follow your dreams and chase whatever it is that's out there that's hanging in the balance. Maybe you need to change your life. Maybe you need to uproot yourself. Maybe you just need some hope, some inspiration, some perspective. That's why we are here at New Job Who Dis. So welcome, everybody. I'm so glad you're here. Let's get right into it because this is a meaty episode, ladies and gentlemen. I will try to make it as brief as possible because I don't want to. I could talk for hours and hours about this particular job and the experience that I had over the 6 years and change working for Loot Crate, Loot Crate, a subscription box company that started 8 years ago, 8+ years ago, I want to say, and is still around. I am not here to disparage them. I am not here to spill the tea, darlings, and tell you all the inside scoop of what went on behind the closed doors and in the meetings and in the world of Loot Crate. How did it go from being this amazing subscription box company to where it is today? It's still there. I mean, again, I had some of the best times. I will absolutely give credit where credit is due. I advanced my career and my skill sets and I polished what I already had in my bag of holding and my bag of tricks, and shined them all up because I was given the opportunity to do so. So you're wondering, well, what went wrong? Well, why are you, what happened? We'll get to that. However, this is where we left off. I'm working for Loot Crate. I am now a customer service lead or supervisor. I am currently taking on an early stage project of fixing a problem, because as we are working with the mail in subscription box land, there's mail issues. I mean, the customers are asking where their crates are, and I'm investigating. I'm noticing that we're getting crates returned, but they're not showing up, and I'm trying to figure it out. Meanwhile, we're hiring. The company is blowing up at this time. We are, as they call it, we are hockey sticking in the business. We are blowing up. Our subscription rate is doubling month after month. We are creating Comic-Con in a box, and it is fabulous. The geek community loves it. The nerd community loves it. The comic book people love it. The movie people, everybody who's got a sense of geekery in their blood is like, wow, this is great. Every month I get a box. It's like Christmas in the mail. It's a surprise as long as you don't get spoiled on it using the internet. Because, of course, people started using, hey, I've got this unboxing video, and I'm going to tell you what's the hot thing that's coming out of this Loot Crate box. It was great. And it was just Loot Crate. It was one box. It had one thing, one select, theme to it. It had a select amount of 6 to 8 items, and it was magical. And let me tell you, people ate it up. I thought it was great. It was a great idea, and it is a great idea. It still can be a great idea. I mean, listen, Loot Crate didn't invent something brand new. Jelly of the Month Club has been around forever. It just hasn't been a focused audience. It hasn't been a specific exclusive thing that people are like, what? This is the only place I can get it? I mean, if you think about it, like Harry and David and all these places that sell holiday pears or jellies and jams that are exclusive, and you get a new one every month or whatever. It's been around forever. It's just, this was a new niche that everybody was like on board with. Well, everything seems to be great. I mean, the money is flowing. The atmosphere is hot. I mean, everyone is just jamming at Loot Crate. Woo, we're having a party because, again, we're blowing up. Things are moving quicker. If you don't like something at Loot Crate, just wait a minute. It'll change because, again, we were popping off, and you had to catch can and catch up as fast as possible. Well, this is where I started to shine because, again, we were a new venture. There was uncharted territory in the subscription box world that we had to figure out as it happened. And one of the biggest ones was, of course, because it was in my realm, was customer support. But it was finding out how to get these crates to the customers and how to get this product in the mail safely, securely, and make sure it works. Mixed with, what do we do when it doesn't go right? How do we fix the problem? How do we reduce those costs? How do we make sure this is done right? Well, yours truly stepped up to the plate, and I dove in headfirst, driven, blinders on, because I could not be distracted from other things to try and fix the problem and try and at least gather data, fix the manual problems, open up a dialogue with the U.S. Postal Service, have meetings with them. I learned more about, right now, as of this Friday, there is a conversation on Twitter, and there is news reports blowing up right now. The USPS is a mess. Their 6 million packages are behind schedule. Everything's a mess. Everything's behind. It's the holiday season. They've never seen mail like this before because, again, everyone's at home. So if you can't travel to see loved ones because of the quarantines and the COVID and the restrictions or whatever you're doing, got to send it, got to ship it, got to use Amazon, got to use whatever means to use the mail and send those packages. So if you think it's a mess now, it was a mess 8 years ago. However, it wasn't a complete mess, but what I did learn and what came out of it was just this peeling of the wallpaper, if you can understand that. I picked apart a problem. I was like, where are these crates? Why are they not showing back up? The U.S. Postal Service is telling us these are coming back to us, yet they're not anywhere to be found. We're at the warehouse. Nobody got any mail back. And I knocked on the U.S. Postal Service's door, and they were like, here's 7 pallets of backlogged crates that came back. What? So I essentially set up the returns and exchanges department, so to speak. Because at the end of the day, we couldn't keep the product and be like, oh, you didn't get your crate? Well, we're going to keep your money and keep the product. Plus, we had to figure out what to do with all this inventory that was coming back. I mean, we were expecting to sell. I'll just use random numbers. If I was selling 20 crates to 20 people and 5 of them came back, well, I was expecting not to sit on 5 crates worth of inventory. So what do we do with this inventory? Because we're getting all this stuff back that we meant to get rid of, realistically. I mean, not get rid of in the negative sense, but just we planned for X amount of crates to sell. We bought X amount of crates, product to put in the crates, and we send it all out. Well, what do you do with it when it comes back? Do we resell it? Do we resend it? What are we doing? How is this working? Because there's a matrix of like, well, the customer canceled and they don't want their crate, and now we've already refunded them, so now we're stuck with these products, right? Well, imagine that month after month. Imagine how the volume increased along with our subscriber base. So, again, I'll just use stupid examples because I don't have the exact numbers. And I'm not here to spill the tea on Loot Crate and go, they had this many subscribers and this is what happened and here's the money and da-da-da-da. It's not why we're here. Essentially, if, 1 month you have 20 subscribers and 3 crates come back, and then the next month you have 40 subscribers and 6 crates come back, and then the next month you have 80 subscribers and 12 of those crates come back. Now multiply that times tens of hundreds of thousands. Imagine, if you will, the daily dose of returns or exchanges that suddenly showed up on our front door because we had to fix some certain problems. I mean, there are a lot of problems that people were able to, it just caused issues and, people moving. I mean, that's something I learned. Here's some lessons I learned about human behavior when it comes to mail. 1, customers or people think that mail just should always happen. It's like this thing where it's like Christmas and Santa Claus. You just expect him to come down the chimney and lay presents down. So when it doesn't happen, you're like, what? How? Why? It's the mail. It's like turning on your faucet and water should be there, right? You paid the water bill. Where's my water? Same thing. Now mix that with the gotta have it first, where I need it now. Gimme. Like, it's exclusive and I didn't get it. I'm missing out. Imagine the left out itis that is infecting your customer base. I mean, listen, if you're a company of any sort, again, if I created a Jam and Jelly Company of the Month Club and I created an exclusive jam of magic berries and it's only available this month and if you better get it, otherwise it'll sell out, and you pump it up and this is the only place you're going to get these cool magic jellies. They're magic. When you eat them, they sparkle. They're amazing. The best flavors you've ever had. You better get one. Oh boy. You're setting the fire, right? You're starting the fire and everyone's like, oh my God, I must have it. You're creating that buzz and it's great. Don't get me wrong. It's great. But when it doesn't work, the fever that people get. Oh, where's my crate? You're screwing me. Like, it just becomes, it's that constant feeling of the holiday season when the exclusive toy is sold out. There's a million movies and cliches about getting that one toy that no one else, and it still exists today. I mean, today, PS5s, Xbox, the new Xbox, I mean, it's sold out. Well, I can't please my child. Oh my gosh. The amount of fervor and fever that just people, where's my grades? Ah! And I was pretty much in charge of solely. And then eventually I got a team of customer support team because we had customer support folks, but I definitely needed help. I needed help focusing the energy to try and fix this problem. And it worked. I fixed it to an extent. You can't fix it all, right? You can't control every behavior, but I knocked that number down because all I had to do was figure out what the problems were. Why were the crates coming back to us? What was the customer behavior part of it? Like, was the customer doing something like moving and not telling you, which was another lesson. I love that people move. And then this was the human customer experiment that I was like, why? I couldn't understand it. Why would you do this? If you were expecting mail in any way, shape, or form, or even if you weren't expecting mail, but you move from a residence, and I understand there are people that have to be uplifted and uprooted in a hot minute and don't have time to cross their T's and dot their I's. But I mean, if you literally are subscribing to magazines and you have utility bills and you have cable bills or you have any sort of mail service that you know you are expecting, and you decide one month that we are moving out of state, we're moving from Kansas City to Tampa, Florida, why would you not tell anybody? Why would you not tell the post office? Why would you not check all the things that you normally get mail from and make sure to get your mail? Mixed with this weird expectation, human behavior. This was such a lesson in human behavior. Why would you just expect us to know where you moved to? And B, why would you just expect the U.S. Postal Service to go, oh, well, they moved, so here's your crate. We're just going to keep forwarding your mail for you without any question. Lordy, it became a mess. And I had to build a team and I had to put out this fire because it was costing us money. I mean, it was costing us problems and money because it's not free. I just want to let you know, pro tip, it is not free for the U.S. Postal Service to just return a package to a company. They charge you to return it. Yeah. So imagine it's costing you $5 to send a box, and then that box only, the contents of that box are worth $5. So realistically, you're losing $10 the minute you send that mail out. And you're spending, customers spending $20 for that box. But then you lose another $6 because they return the crate. And then you've got to send it back out again, which costs you another $5. So every return, you're losing money. Oh, I had to put a cork in that. There was leaks in that wall. And at first, I was holding it with my fingers and toes, trying to stop the leaks. And then somebody gave me a bag of corks. I was like, well, I've got some corks to fix that problem. Now, mind you, it didn't get out of hand. It wasn't like we were dying on returns. I had smart people that I got on the team. They were extremely helpful. They were extremely, cognizant of what we were facing. And it was great. It was great to actually successfully take on the problems, present internal problems to our tech teams to go, hey, here's a quick fix that'll solve us X amount of dollars per month. If we just implement this, we will get X amount of less returns or less exchanges and blah, 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 blah. That also ties into exchanges. I mean, if you're sending a shirt to somebody, got to make sure you have the sizes up and the accurate sizes up on the website. So when somebody's ordering a 2X, it's actually a 2X. It's a true 2X. It's not there's this, if you're not familiar with it, there is a thing as Asian sizes for t-shirts. I went to the Philippines, and we'll talk about that in a second. I went to the Philippines. They did not have shirts in my size, even though they had tag read 2X. It was more like a large at best. There are different sizes for different places of the world that do not match American buffet belly sizes. Right? I mean, it's the truth. So depending on the manufacturer of the shirt and depending on the cut and depending if it's a woman's cut or a man's cut or a plain unisex cut, the sizes changed. So you had to make sure that information was being presented when people were ordering so they weren't going, I know you spent money and time to send me this shirt, but it doesn't fit. I need a different one. And then you got to make sure you have enough inventory to be able to send them one that actually fits them. Because if they got an extra large and it fits like a medium, you got to make sure you have a 2X available for them to get it. Just imagine the Matrix. Imagine the Matrix on one crate with sizes. So you've got one crate, small, medium, large, extra large, large, whatever, right? 2X, 3X. And then you've got to figure out how many. Now, here's where it gets crazier. So we're swimming. And real talk, I'm feeling great about working for Loot Crate, right? I'm feeling great. They are seeing my vision. I'm becoming a leader in the support team. I am hiring people with there's obviously my leader is the owner's wife, and she is the head of the customer support division. And so when we started to put our big boy pants on and our big girl pants on, and we hired like crazy to support the support, and we had to, divide and conquer and make sure we were holding, as I say, I use this phrase a lot when I work there. It's like, we're in this boat and we just grab a oar and start rowing. Just keep rowing, because eventually we're going to get to where we're going to go. So we had to row and row and row and just keep rowing because it was a nonstop cycle. There was no break. Again, you're dealing with a monthly subscription crate. There's no, we have 2 months to figure it out. No, next one's coming right around the corner. We got to ship. We got to do it all. So it's a constant flow. So imagine if one crate comes back and you don't catch it in time and the person still hasn't figured out their address and they didn't tell you they moved. Well, if you send the next crate to the wrong address, you got to catch it. You got to catch it immediately. So this was a great time for me as an individual in the workplace to really, really polish my investigative skills, my skill sets of building macros and customer support language that is not only universal for everybody at the company, but also easy for customers to understand, because I had to create this whole level of how to fix the problem and how do we attack the problem and how do we maintain the problem. And it was great. It was great. We were flowing. We had three other leads, supervisors that rose up in the ranks because they were killing it on tickets. And Loot Crate was great. Then we got big. Then it became big to a point where we had to get a bigger warehouse. We had to, up until this point, the warehouse was across the parking lot. So if we needed something immediately, we needed to monitor stuff, and we needed to figure out what was going on, it was right there. Then, because we got so big, we had to find a bigger warehouse. Well, the warehouse went away from where the headquarters was, which weirdly, in perspective and observation land, divided the company because it became us versus them. And it was just natural. It wasn't because it was forced and we were treating it like that. We knew we had to work with the warehouse. We knew we had to work with shipping. And so I went down to the warehouse because that's where the mail was going to be coming back to. And that's where there was more room for me to spread out and figure out how to organize this. And then I had to get a team to deal with the crates. Once we got them back and scanned them back in and got the information back on track, we had to get a team of people to do something with all the product, because I couldn't spin that plate at the same time. I couldn't keep spinning all those plates and going, okay, not only am I going to handle all the customers. Not only am I going to fix all the addresses, not only am I going to do all the customer support on it, but then I'm going to also reorganize the inventory and put it back into play. I needed more people. It just grew and grew and grew and grew. Well, here's what else grew. That may, and I'm only speculating because, again, I wasn't making the decisions. I wasn't the CEO. I wasn't the co-CEO. I wasn't any part of the vice presidents and the upper management that was on the day-to-day making decisions for the whole company. I was making decisions for customer support. I was making decisions for the warehouse on a level of what to do with all these returns and exchanges. But I was not pulling any, decisions on what we should do as a company to make it work and make it hot and keep it fresh. And I was not part of any of the business meetings with other companies and product companies that were clamoring to get into our crate because they saw a gold mine. And how do I expose my cool action figure and my cool t-shirt design and my cool art piece or my whatever product that we were trying to get into the hands of, well over 500,000 people. I mean, come on. Whew! I wasn't part of any of that. But here's what I saw from my eyes that, again, I could speculate all day and give you what could have been and what should have been. And again, not here to disparage them. They're still in business and they gave me the best 6.25 plus years of my life in the workplace as far as advancing my career and as far as, making me take on so many life skills and work skills because of what was going on. So once Loot Crate took off, the idea became to add more crates to the arsenal. Loot Crate on its own was great, right? Christmas in a box, once a month, variety of fun. But then we decided to splinter it. Then it became Loot Anime and Loot Gaming and Loot everything. Like in the scant 3-ish years that we first started this, they started this company and I was part of, because again, just to remind you, I got in at month number 6. I was one of the by the end of my tenure at Loot Crate, I was like employee number 6. Everybody that was above me had left, quit, got fired, whatever. And on the seniority scale, it was like the 2 owners, the owner's wife, one of the early guys who was there since day one, another guy. And that was like, there was literally, I was there. I was the vet. I'd seen it all happen in front of me. So during the times that people were getting hired in, I was seen as one of the sages who knew what to do, or probably more importantly, what not to do. Because again, you got all these hungry people trying to join Loot Crate. I want to be part of this speeding train of success. We were winning awards. We were the hottest company on Inc. magazine and customer support awards because we're killing it in this business. And again, we hockey sticked, boom, off like a rocket. So we got froggy and decided to jump into getting more crates. Loot Gaming and Loot Anime and then Loot Wear. We wanted clothing and underwear and socks and geek wear for the ladies. And it was just, if you just blinked and you took a day off, you'd come back and there'd be a new crate idea. And then you started getting to specialty crates and one-of-a-kind crates and one-time only crates because we're launching this crate to celebrate a release or an anniversary or something. All great ideas. But what seems like a great idea at the time, it became too much of a good thing. And this is just my perspective. Once I saw this happening, and once I saw the layers of complexities and the overwhelming sense that just got over me, that became like this notion of what is happening. It's like, oh, this jelly is good, so we're going to make more jellies, and these all taste good, and everybody wants jelly, 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 jelly. Yeah, that seems great at first, but then it became so complex and so overwrought that, at least from the overall broad generalized perspective, it became too niche and too focused and too, there was just too many focuses that I felt it watered everything down. Now, I'm not even trying to be right. Here's what I will absolutely say that my perspective came true. Loot Crate was a cake. And I said, just to let you know, I said this directly to the CEO in a team group meeting for the entire company. We had a big, hey, we're all talking, we're all having a big, group meeting, and we're all, company meeting. And there was some problems, and people were kind of uneasy about the future, and it seemed like complications were starting to arise. And again, that's other departments as well. It wasn't just support, it was everybody. And I stood up with all my might and all my experience and my observational powers and what we were seeing. And I said, here's what we're seeing. Loot Crate is a giant cake. We baked a delicious cake. It was so delicious. Oh, tasty. And it was great. I mean, people just kept eating it. It was like, oh, more of this cake, just keep going. And what we did was we put another layer of cake on top of that cake. It was, the original cake was like this high, but then we added another layer of cake. And we covered that bottom layer, and we painted a new shellac of fresh frosting and icing on that cake. And every time we brought out a new crate, here's Loot Gaming, here's Loot Wear, here's Loot Anime, here's Loot Everything. Every time we did that, we did the same thing. We just kept, here's another layer of cake. More cake? Would you like more cake? Yes, we want more cake. Great. Here's another layer of cake. And that cake kept getting taller and taller. And it started teetering. And the layers were getting thinner and thinner because the more focused we were getting, the less we were finding the niches. So it was like, wow, here's a crate that everyone will buy. But then when we presented it, it was like, well, okay, not as many people got into that. And then the other problem is because you're creating all these niches on top of the big main cake that people kept eating and we kept covering, that bottom base cake was not only getting moldy, but it was chewed into and it was eaten and it wasn't tasting as good because then you watered it down with all these other, if you're going to create, I'll use an example, just a random example. If you have a generic crate that kind of covers all the bases that you can in a month of geekery, and it spreads it kind of around and introduces you to new things, but maybe that thing is nice. I like that thing, but I don't know anything about that franchise. And then you go, hey, everybody, we're going to create a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles crate. And and out of that main crate, you're never going to put Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles out in it because you have a specific Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles crate. Well, I don't need that base crate anymore because the base crate I don't know what's going to be in there, but I sure love the turtles and I want the turtle crate because it's going to be all turtles all the time. I don't need that little crate anymore. It's got random things I don't even know if I like or not, but I sure love turtles. Well, of course, that bottom base layer of cake is going to start crumbling and it's going to, the cake tower is teetering and falling. So what you need to do is you need to rebake that cake on the bottom. Get a fresh cake to hold that company up. And I wasn't trying, I'll tell you right now, I was not trying to stick it to anybody. I was not trying to rub it in anybody's face about what I was observing. I was not at all trying to show the CEO I'm the smarter guy in the room. Not at all. But I'll tell you what, when I spoke on that, And I gave that as an example of what we were experiencing as what I could at least tell what was going on in the company. I got a hefty round of applause and standing ovation because I said I clearly hit a nerve. I clearly had observational skills that said, yeah, what he said. We need to fix the problems from the bottom up and not just keep adding more cake layers to the cake. Oh, the top tastes great. Oh, those fresh cake layers are delicious. People just go, ooh, I'll try that cake. Oh, you got a new one? Let's try that one. Nobody cared about that bottom layer. And it was getting moldy and stanky and eaten, and nobody wanted it anymore. Well, at some point, you had to just sort of let the people in charge take the wheel. Because I'm only one person, and I wasn't in a position to run the company. I wasn't in a position to tell the CEO. Listen, I was friends, and I would hope I'm still friends with the CEO. I haven't talked to him since I left. But, I mean, I don't know what happened. In the meantime, I kept my focus on fixing problems because that is where my strengths laid. That is where my strengths were. I was a problem solver, fixer, organizer. Realistically, I should have moved into inventory. I already ran the inventory for the Hard Rock Cafe in Hollywood Boulevard. I reduced their shrink. I organized the holy hell out of their warehouse. I made it clean. I made it universal. I set up systems and processes to make it easy and make it simple and keep tabs of what's going on and where things are and why is this selling and why is it not and what can we do with this product that's not moving. That was my strength. That was my wheelhouse, was organization and keeping on it. Because after a lifetime of jobs up to this point and a lifetime of just my own human behavior, I know where it is because I put it there. And I know where it belongs because I've created a system for that's where it belongs. And I make it universal for the world to understand. So if you merged in off the freeway at any given moment, I could teach you in a flash, and it would be everybody knows this language. Everybody understands these codes. I'm teaching it for everybody. So it's not just like, oh, this is the way I do it. This is how I'm doing it. No, not one bit. And so I chose, when I saw that there were too many cooks, and if you're not familiar, look up too many cooks. There were too many cooks in the kitchen, for my estimation. Yes, we were a very busy company. Yes, we had layers upon layers upon layers of new complexities and new divisions that had to handle things when we were blowing up. But when things leveled off, the world in Loot Crate was a scramble fest, fighting over whatever. It was so messy. In the meantime, I'm just being the best customer support manager I can possibly be. My salary was delightful. I was happy as a bug. I had no complaints about Loot Crate. And realistically, to this day, I still don't. Because I could hold on to some bitter edge, like, they, screwed me over. But realistically, I was so focused on advancing my career. And I was so focused on making sure that I dug myself out of the hole and the pit that I was previously in, that it didn't matter to me. I just wanted to make it work. I just wanted things to work and be cute. And I wanted this. I had the mindset that this was the company for me, that it was going to take me to the promised land, that it was going to be my career. This is where I was going to hang my hat on for X amount of years, because the behavior in the beginning of my career there and the temperature of the water and the pattern of success we were building as a company led me to believe this is where I belonged. And the rug was pulled out from under me so many times. The Lucy pulling the football while I was trying to kick it was just non-stop after a while. Now, by this time, I was a customer support manager. There was the director. She was part of the leadership team of the whole company. So there were three of us holding down the holding down the team while the director was also off, trying to fix bigger problems and report back to us about what's going on in the company and making the right decisions for the team and how to divide and conquer and make things better and da. Well, one of the things we had to do is reduce costs because it was blowing up. But as I said in the previous the previous opener to the previous podcast, as I've learned from watching the first half of the MC Hammer behind the music, it's the one lesson I've learned is that the money never runs out until it starts to run out. Now, it didn't run out immediately. Oh, no. It wasn't like all to nothing. It wasn't like, oh boy, we're rich. Oh boy, we're broke. It was an absolute slow trickle until it started pouring. And then it really started pouring. And it was weird. But I stayed on course. I was a career guy. I was a career gal. I was there. I'm one of the top 10 employees. I've been here that long. I'm here to fight the good fight. And I was in earnest. I was absolutely there to fight and carry whatever flag I could for Loot Crate. Because I believed we could fix things. I believed we could turn it around. I believed that we could figure it out. I believed that I could be part of figuring it out. But after a while, I just couldn't. In the meantime, part of the cost reduction was getting rid of the local US-based customer support team. Because what we found out is that we could outsource. And we did. We outsourced to the Philippines. And it was great. I don't want to, I'm sure there's a million political conversations that everybody and their mother could have about US jobs versus outsourcing. But in a position that we were in as a company, we had to save money. And having a full crazy staff of US salary or US paid customer support team folks versus paying a team in the Philippines to do it and a company in the Philippines to do it. And essentially we were getting like, I think, and again, don't quote me because I wasn't looking at the books. I do not have numbers, but it was literally like two people to one over the Philippines, maybe even three, but I'm pretty sure it was like 2 to 1. Well, who is a very personable human being and has been with the company since almost day one, and who would be willing to travel to the Philippines to train an outsourced team? I don't know. Who? You. Me. Of course. And how did I get that esteemed position? Well, not because I was better than anybody and not because I was smarter than anybody. I was dedicated. And I mean, obviously I had knowledge. Obviously I had training experience. Obviously I had management experience. Obviously I had a lot of knowledge, ins and outs, processes, how to treat customers. I was always great to our customers. I just want to let you know, our customers were never the enemy. And to this day, that's part of my customer support philosophy. The customer is not the enemy unless they make themselves the enemy. I mean, the hostile customer. I've told customers that. I've told angry customers who are spit and fire and foul and filth at me and at our company. I want to say, listen, we're not your enemy. I am not your enemy. I am here to try and repair and fix the problem. I've often said this about customer support. Like, if you broke your leg and you called 911 and they said they're going to send an ambulance immediately, and a doctor and a nurse showed up and they were there to fix your leg, why on earth would you complain to them ad nauseum and try to take down their hospital and their ambulance division and the 911 repair center based on why you broke your leg. I fell off this building and broke my leg. How dare you come here and try to fix it? I mean, I shouldn't have been jumping off that building in the first place. You probably put that building there. Why? That's the only time the customer has become my enemy. But if I'm here to legitimately fix your problem, it ain't on you. It's on us. I want to try and fix the problem. And yes, there are times where customers have to be told that they messed something up. But again, we're all humans. I'm not there to blame you. I'm just letting you know this is a fact. This is what you did, and this is what we're going to do to fix it. So I got shipped to the Philippines 3 separate times over like 8-9 months. This ties into the best of times, the worst of times. It was the best time. It was the best time ever. Imagine the amount of gratitude that I could muster by having a company pay my way back and forth for 2 weeks, 1.5 week stints in the Philippines and Davao the Philippines. I was like, are you kidding me? A free pass to go travel the world and teach the children on how Loot Crate works and bang the drum for us over in another country and work with kids who English as a second language and a different culture altogether. I mean, yes, there was Americanized stuff over there, but it was a different world. And the way I was described to it by one of the executives over in the Philippines was that it was not third world rising. It was developing third world. So the way you could describe it is it was like there was the shack, the food shack and the hut next to the skyrise that was being built. I mean, it was like shabby chic. It was this whole mixture of culture where the Philippines was developing third world, and I was there for it. It was wild. It was absolutely wild. And what was great is that because I was so focused on these two energies, I was absolutely focused on fixing the returns exchanges problem and making sure we had leaders in place to fix that. And once I was able to whittle that down to the point where it didn't need a full team and it didn't need complete focus on my part. It kind of was on autopilot to an extent. And I trained others on how to do it, and other people could lead and take the lead on it. It was great. It allowed me to go to the Philippines. The food, the culture, the music, the atmosphere, everything just changed me as a human being. It was the amount of gratitude that just flooded me on a day-to-day basis. The fact that I was able to do that and make friends and learn all about the Philippines and learn all about what they eat, how they eat, what they shop for, what they buy, what they listen to, what they watch, what are they into, what part of American culture that they want to know about, what could I provide them, how could I learn? And it was amazing to no end. I still have fond memories. I would love to move. Like if I decide to retire and I decide to leave this, I have nothing to do and I'm done with pro wrestling and I'm retiring, so to speak. I so want to save my money and just buy a hut on some tiny island in the Philippines and do art and live off the ocean and just escape the Americanized world, because it's so weird. When you go to another country like that, it's so eye-opening what they don't care about, that America is obsessed with or causing themselves ire over or gossiping about or whatever. The Philippines people, they didn't care. They didn't care about Kanye. They didn't care about the Kardashians. They didn't care about the hottest gossip or they didn't care. They love gaming. They love sports. They were not drama. Like there was no housewives. It was amazing. And let me tell you, the food changed my life. I live in a part of LA where there is a huge Filipino influence in Filipino town and all that area. The food, so good. One of the biggest things that happened to me during this time, now on top of obviously skill sets galore, training customer support teams in another country, off-sourcing, all of that and more was so good for my career and my soul, because I was doing such a good thing for these kids, and I call them kids lovingly. They're grown adults. They're not 12. They're 18 and above. They're old enough to drink. It was so fulfilling for me as a human being to go to another country and teach them how to do customer support and teach them to remove the fear, because there was a lot of fear. Oh yeah, I want to please the masters over in the US. I want to make sure that no one's mad at me. And I got them out of their shells. I got them out of their fear bubbles. So they weren't this out of touch, off-sourcing team that was just, as you could just call it, slave labor, and we don't care and work harder. No, we were treating them well. We wanted to treat them well. We were there to make them like they're one of us. They were not some get it done, we don't care, we're paying you pennies on the dollar. No. These were our children. And so I get a little teared up about it, because it was such a magical time for me to grow as a human being and to learn from others and to soak in what I just opened my perspective of the world and what matters. There was things over there that we, as Americans, they had nap rooms in their offices. What? If you needed a nap and you needed a rest because you're working overnights or whatever, and you took your 15-minute break, they had a dark nap room that had beds and sheets and pillows, and you could just take a nap in there. And the protocol was keep it quiet. There was nobody on your phone. It was napping. You're there to nap. What? America, wake up. This is like when I went to Japan and every toilet had a bidet. I'm like, America, come on. Heated toilet seats? You're missing out. So either way, it was just like, oh my God, the learning, the lessons, the everything. It was so good for my soul. And I'm forever grateful for Loot Crate and the bosses and the people in charge that allowed me to do that. It was successful. It was great. One of the most amazing things that happened to me, which just part of my personality. When I got there and I stayed in the hotel, anytime I was just in the hotel, mind you, as American citizens, we were not just allowed to just wander the streets on our own. We definitely had to have escorts. We definitely had to have concierges from the company to make sure we were not just kidnapped and thrown in a van because they saw American tourists. Not that that was what was happening, but at the same time, they didn't want that to happen. It's a liability situation. So anytime we had to wander out and do things, we had to make sure we had somebody with us. But while I was in the hotel most of the time, I decided to soak in the culture. So of course I did a lot of channel surfing, but I definitely wanted to understand what the Philippines kids were listening to. What was on the music channels? What was on MTV? They had MTV Pinoy. Oh, I had that thing on 24/7 because I was like, what are they playing? What are they listening to? What American music do they like? What non-American music do they like? What Filipino K-pop, J-pop treasures can I come away with? And thanks to Spotify and Shazam and Siri Who Is This, I collected so much amazing other world music that was K-pop, J-pop, P-pop, fun, crazy songs, and even American songs that were not a thing in America, but clearly the Philippines charts were blowing up with all these other artists that I'm like, what? And I was asking the students and the employees, I was like, what are you guys listening to? What are you into? What do you like? And they're like, well, what do you like? And I'm like, well, I love pop and I love dance and I love rock and I love pop. I told them, I was watching MTV Pinoy, and they're like, okay, You would love Sarah Geronimo. I was like, Sarah Geronimo? And it's spelled Geronimo, but it's Sarah Geronimo. And I was like, what? Who's that? And they told me, they're like, oh, she's this huge artist. She's like the Beyonce of the Philippines. What? What? Tell me more. Oh yeah, no, she is like a teen pop star that just stayed a pop star and was in movies and TV and everything. I mean, I don't have the Wikipedia entry on her, but she is, without a shadow of a doubt, the Beyonce of the Philippines. Now you're thinking to yourself, well, what is that? Why is that an amazing experience? The fact that you learned about Sarah Geronimo and being what does that mean? Well, how I just fall into fun. On the third visit, after I'd learned about Sarah Geronimo, and I fell immediately in love with this amazing song called Kilometro. Look it up. It's amazing. I don't know a word she's singing in it other than kilometro. I know what that means. Miles, right? It's measurement. But everything else is in Tagalog. And I was like, I don't know what she's saying, but I'm all in. And it's a hot jam. Well, on the third visit, we're driving around the van, heading to some distance. I don't know if we're heading to the office, back to the office. I don't know where we were going. But one of the people in the van goes, oh, look. Hey, look up there. And there was this huge poster, this huge billboard for Sarah Geronimo doing the Great Unknown Tour. And she was going to be live in concert while we were there on a day where we were not working. Or I think it was either a day off or it was at a night where the next day we were off. But it was like, wait, she's performing here? And what? Oh, I mean, can we don't have any other plans. We're not going to the ocean. We did go to the ocean. We did some amazing snorkeling and, boat tours and roast pig. Oh God, it was great. But I was like, can we go to that concert? And the people from the Philippines that we were with, the concert, they're like, yeah, sure. It's in the mall. It's in the big mall over there. It's on the top. They have a big theater. Sure. How much are tickets? America, your ticket prices are stupid. Now, mind you, it's related, or it's relatable, on par. It's it's relative. That's the word I'm looking for. It's relative. So a $100 ticket or an $80 ticket for an American concert was like $14 in Philippines. $15, maybe. What? Oh, here's the difference though. There was no front row prices, back row mezzanine, It was like $15, maybe 20. I will just make it easy. It was like $20 to go see Sarah Geronimo. Well, I was making American money at the time, and I was making enough money that I told the entire class, I was like, anybody here want to see Sarah Geronimo? And they gasped. What? I bought like 8 tickets plus 2 more for me and I bought I want to say maybe $140, $160 worth of tickets to Sarah Geronimo. And not only did the 7 people from the class and from the training and from the employment of Loot Crate at the offsourcing lose their minds that they were being treated to a Sarah Geronimo concert, who, again, Beyonce of the Philippines. Oh my God, we're going to see her live? What? But it was like, okay, so here's the rules of concerts in the Philippines. You're not allowed to stand. What? You have to sit the entire time. There's no standing up and dancing and don't care about the people behind you. Very polite society. You sat and you cheered at the end of it and screamed, but there was no wow! Yes, there was. Let me tell you, this concert was loaded with Filipino teenage kids. Teens. It was teens. teens and young adults, very young. Oh, I looked like a parent. Now, what's funny is that the place was loaded with kids with their Filipino parents. So it was all these Filipino families seeing Sarah Geronimo because she's wholesome, right? She's not dangerous. She's wholesome. She's not selling it. When I say Beyonce, I mean Beyonce sells it. Sarah Geronimo sells it in her own way, but she's not trying to tart it up in any way. She's just Sarah Geronimo. Very wholesome, very love, romance. Sarah. Like, it's gorgeous music. I didn't understand a word of it. But we got to this concert, and again, it was just loaded with teens. Now, here's the fun part. We're back, again, you could see it all because no one was standing, no one was in your way. It wasn't tiered, so it wasn't like, oh, I can see everything, but it was just flat. And it was just this auditorium. The concert was amazing. Here's the only thing. There was no t-shirts being sold. There was no merch except for an autographed CD of The Great Unknown, which was what she was performing. What I didn't know was that she was performing an acoustic unplugged version of her album. And she threw in Kilometro both ways. She did it acoustically, but then it was like, oh, I lost my mind because I had fallen in love with the song 2 trips earlier and I'd been blasting it my Spotify for months. And then here I am suddenly at a Sarah Geronimo concert in the Philippines being stared at as big white hairy bear. Like, who is this older white guy at the Sarah Geronimo concert with all these Filipino kids? What is happening here? What I didn't know, and I couldn't believe, I bought 2 of these CDs because they were like $10, right? $10 for the CD, maybe, no, 15, maybe again. I was like, I'll buy 2 because I had a friend here in America who I was like, I know he would want this CD. If there's somebody, he's a diva lover and he loves divas. And I feel like this is an opportunity to be like, here's a unique gift. So I bought 2 of these CDs. What I did not know until the kids that I was with, and again, I say kids lovingly, they were not children. They were 19 years old. What I had no idea is that when you bought these CDs, it granted you an opportunity after the concert to meet Sarah Geronimo and take a picture with her. What? Okay, so one of the kids that was with me was obviously gay. And I was like, who wants to meet her? And he almost cried. He was out of breath. He couldn't believe that not only would I take him to a free concert, but then I didn't realize what I was buying bought me a free pass to meet the Beyonce of the Philippines. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, well, now I've got 2 tickets. And the other American, the Loot Crate employees that I came with and the other supervisors and trainers that I went with, they didn't want to meet her. But this kid was like, oh my God, what? I was like, you can meet her. Great. End of the concert was amazing. Concert was still, I can just close my eyes and watch it in my head. It was so good. End of the show happens. They're like, yeah, I mean, everyone just encouraged me because I'm like, I don't know what to do. They're like, yeah, just go up towards the stage and wait, because they were going to start bringing people up. She got on stage to talk. Oh, everybody, I love you. Thank you so much for being part of this, and all this stuff. Now, at the time, I was wearing a curly mustache. I had a big, old-timey Renaissance curly mustache. I did not even have this beard. It was clean shaven and just the mustache with the big curls and bald head. And I get into this crowd, and this crowd is picture Beyonce, Michael Jackson level teen screams. Kind of nudging and pushing their way to the front because they want to meet Sarah. And oh my God, I want to be first. And I want to touch her and be around her and smell. Sarah! It was so wild. It was like bop teen sensation level fever of these kids. And I say kid lovely. I mean, again, there were teens and kids, but they were young adults. And it was like, what? I couldn't believe the energy in the room was so like, we're going to meet this big, amazing star. I can't believe it. So they get me, I get close to the end of the line, or whatever the line that they're queuing people to go in as groups. Because again, it wasn't like one at a time. It wasn't Santa Claus where you get to sit on her lap and go. It wasn't that. It was like, take a group picture. So me and the kid from Loot Crate, the off-source Loot Crate, we got put together with a bunch of other people. It was like 4 or 5 other people. And they're like, yeah, come with us, da-da-da. And they walked us over to the stage very swiftly, because again, this wasn't chitty chat time. They had a lot of people to get through. I approach up to her. I'm taller than most of the folks, so I'm like deciding to go behind her. But as I approach her, she kind of looks over her shoulder and sees this big burly Caucasian, non-Filipino, non-Pinoy bear coming at her, and she's like, "Oh, I love your mustache." So she noticed me. What? And she complimented me. What? And the kids kind of were like, she said something to you? We took a picture. I thanked her, walked off the stage, and just glowed. Just glowed. Oh, it was so good. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe it. I still have the CD, still autographed, still love the songs, still love it all. Amazing. Again, work hard, kids. You never know where the world is going to take you. And if you told, if you look back at my Loot Crate career, I started as a temporary packer working 4 to 5 days a week or a month. And all of a sudden, in 4 years' time, 5 years' time, maybe, I'm on flights to Davao, Philippines to train kids and meeting the Beyonce of the Philippines. What is going on? And then on top of that, we did these boat tours and snorkeling and ate a fresh coconut off the ocean and all these. It was just food. And they literally on the boat, they had a roast pig but cooked on a spit. It was just unbelievable. Unbelievable. The life I was living. And the money was great. And I was making plenty of money. And it was wonderful. Well, changes are going to come. I get back, all that's done. We've got this team. We're saving money now because we've got this outsourced team of like 40 people out there, and I'm their manager, and I'm, actually got up to I take that back. It was like 32, 33 people, maybe 35. It was somewhere in that neighborhood. I don't think it got to 40, but it was plenty of customer support team. And I was in charge of them, and I had to work overnights for a while because their time schedule, they're 15 hours ahead, and I had to literally work like 1 a.m. to 10 a.m. to be around for them, and I was like the only one in the building in America. It was just wild. It was just wild. It's crazy times. But I got to tell you, what really, really, really cracked, everything was the fact that it got too big, too fast, too many cooks, too many divisions, too many separations, too many siloing off because we're a part of this team or you're not part of that team. And everybody was doing their own thing. And it was, I always say this, while the support team, when I got everybody in the support team in the same room and said, everybody point north with your eyes closed, everybody pointed north. They all closed their eyes and went north. We were on the same page. But if I got the entire company in the same room and said, close your eyes and point north, it was everywhere. Messy. And again, after a while, we dwindled our support team, so they didn't need as many support managers. They didn't need as much of that. And the returns exchanges got beaten down to the point where they didn't need it. Mind you, also, the subscriber level went down, and it wasn't the hockey stick went down, because at some point, the rocket's it shoots up in the sky and gets you to where you need to be, but then it has to come back down to earth, and it did. It did so, just as almost, I don't want to say almost as fast, but on pace, and or evened out. Again, I was there 6 years. took us 3-4 years to blow up. And then by the end of year 6, no, what? Again, I am not going to indict them. I'm not going to tell you the tea. I have so much internal information. But again, I'm not trying to tease anybody. If somebody with a lot of money wants to cover me on a level of legal protection and or payoff and or settlement with the company I used to work for, and they want to find out names and what happened and when and why and who did what and all that internal mess, absolutely. Step right up. DM me. Show me the check. Put it in my... Wire me the money. 7 figures at minimal. And we will absolutely spill the tea. But I can't. Because again, I signed a document. I got a severance. And realistically, between you and me, it was the best 6 years of my life. Because it changed me. It saved me. It put me in a place where I am... During this time, I got married to my husband. I made more money than I ever made in my life before. I got free trips to the Philippines. I got so many free pieces of clothing and underwear and socks and gifts for people and toys and geekery galore. And, I made friends that up until this point, I really didn't have a lot of work friends. And I had made some great bonds with some great people. And it was the best times until it wasn't. I moved out of the support division and I got into procurement, where I was trying to basically organize and manage all of the crates and all of the things that were going on as far as the ins and outs of what we were buying and what was being spent. And then I got into just more, it was like, I became like a look, whatever I could do to help the problems. And there was legal paperwork and I did all these things. And I could start to slowly, month after month, see the writing on the wall. I was perceptive enough, and my perception was as sharp as knives, as well as my gut instinct. During this time, I started to see the pillars start to fall. Now, we're not going to end it on and then I got laid off and wrap it up. How did I go from this to Halston Boddy? How did I get to pro wrestling management? Well, in year 2 or 3, I want to say 3 or 4, somewhere in the middle, somewhere smack dab in the middle. Again, I'm going to have to go back. I've been in wrestling for 3 years, 3 years and change. So this would have had to have been 3.5 years before that. So I want to say maybe year 4. I encountered a lovely coworker. Never met her in my life, never knew her, but she was one of the cool kids, one of the kids that I got. I was like, all right. Her name was Sarah. Sarah was fun, and she was on the same page as me. She saw through the BS. She saw through the problems that were happening at this company, and there were plenty of them. Again, well documented on the internet. If you want to find out the gossip and the hot takes of what went down at Loot Crate, Google it, search it, Reddit it, whatever. You'll find all sorts of magical information. However, Sarah became cool. I dug Sarah. Again, I love her to this day. She's great. She's a great gal. I don't want to call her gal. That makes her sound old. She's a great lady, female. She's amazing. One day, she came into work and passing her in the hall, ran into her in the break room, and she was hunched over in pain, trying to walk. Just looking like I needed to call somebody because I was walking into somebody who looked like she was in distress, like there was something wrong here. And I was like, Sarah, are you okay? Sarah, are you okay? What's wrong? And she's like, I'll be fine. I'm just, my back. Well, what happened? Oh, it's wrestling school. It's fine. I'll get through. Well, I'm so sorry to hear that. I hope you're okay. Wait, what? Wait, I'm sorry. What? Record scratch. What? Wrestling school? Come again? Yeah. I'm taking wrestling. I'm just trying to wrestle. Now, I am, at this juncture, 44 years old. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? You're going to... Last time I even thought about wrestling school was like 25 plus years ago when I was coming out of high school. And I was thinking about going to the Chris Curtis Professional Wrestling School in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. What is this? What is this? Wrestling school, you say? Tell me more. Now, my body and my athletic ability at that time was not top notch. I was still a heavy dude. I was still a big, thick wall. I was still a burly bear type. I wasn't thinking, oh, pro athlete. Yeah, I'm John Cena. I'm totally gonna, yeah, wrestling, I'm in. But I was like, tell me more. Wait, what? There's a school? What are they training? What are they teaching? Clearly you're in pain. They're obviously teaching you wrestling, but what else? Tell me more. And she did. And she said, hey, I'm in wrestling school, but I think our school, Santino Brothers, is doing like their first ever like manager school. I was like, what? What do you mean? And it became like, long story short, essentially Santino Brothers, after staying in touch with Sarah and finding out more, and then eventually going to wrestling shows locally and going to a Santino Brothers wrestling show locally, they were going to do a manager, commentator, referee, production, all of the jobs and career paths in professional wrestling other than the wrestling. Well, light me up and call me a Christmas tree. Are you kidding me? What? Wait a minute. Sign me up immediately. Take my money. I need to know more. Why would you want to do that, Bob? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Why would you want to leave Halston, Boddy? Why would you want to, why would you want to explore that? What, is this a midlife crisis thing? What are you doing? I put it in my head. I was like, wait a minute. I have experience in some of these things. Broadcasting, holding a camera, lifting heavy things like putting together a ring. Okay. Well, why don't I just see what this is about? Why don't I just take a chance? I mean, you're living the best life right now. Hey, go check it out. See what's possible. And I did. What? We're going to get to that on the next episode. But in the meantime, I know you're like, wait, tell me more about this wrestling. We have to tell you next time because I got to tell you how Loot Crate ended for me and why. The long story short, again, without getting into the details, without getting into the nitty gritty of the day-to-day and the people involved and the problems that faced the entire company. At the end of the day, the money just was starting to run out. And of course, what that means is layoffs. And for 3 years in a row, they did layoffs like every year on the dime. Before the fiscal year, they cut people. So the writing was on the wall. I mean, when you see your coworkers leaving year after year and the divisions are being, you're having to scramble and put somebody in charge of 3 things instead of 1. And all of a sudden we had to cut this and stop that and delay this and we couldn't do it. And the budget just couldn't call for it. Not only, I will say this, I mean, at the end of the day, the period to it is they laid me off. But they laid me off because I saw it coming and I asked them to lay me off. Because I wasn't going to wait around for somebody to chop my head. I was going to chop my own head and take the money and run. I had 6 years of experience. I had severance coming. I had back pay. I had vacation money. I had plenty to take with me if I was going to lose my job, to cover me and give me time to find where my next road was going to be. But what really started to happen, especially in the last couple of years, is a slow descent of depression and sadness and loss. And I picked up a drinking habit because everybody at the company was, not everybody, but plenty of people were They knew we were in for it. They knew. They saw the writing on the wall. They saw it coming. They saw that train coming. And people started to get crazy. People started drinking at work. People started drinking at their desk. People started drinking on lunch. Perhaps I did as well. No, I did. Again, whiskey started to taste real good because I needed to mask and cloud the pain I was going through, knowing that I had put full effort, not just full effort, twice as a full effort to turn my life around. And I, again, grateful to this day for what I went through. I'm not going to sour the 6+ years of my life there with a slow descent into madness. It's something I couldn't control. And after a while, after year 4.5, I couldn't fix the problems. The problems became bigger than me. The issues, the money, everything was way bigger than I could fix. I had vision. Sure, I had ideas. Sure, I had, absolutely, did I have, this is what we should do. But I was in no position of power to make those decisions or to change the course of our history. I had no power. So I just had to ride it out and watch watch everything crumble in front of me and do my best, put on my best face forward, try my best to do the best I could under the circumstances. And with people around me that were just, I say, if there was one thing I could give a perspective on, at least from what I saw and what I could tell, at least if I were the CEO and I ran Loot Crate differently, I would have not put people in the positions they were in. I would have picked different people. I would have not done whatever levels of hiring that they did and put the people that were in the positions they were in the positions they were in. Because there were a lot of people that were not on board with fixing Loot Crate. And that's where the rub was for me. I wanted to fight the good fight. I wanted to keep rowing. I wanted to turn it around. I carried the flag for myself to try and make it let's turn the ship around. But it was too little, too late. Way too little, way too late. And I just had to slowly descend with the ship. I had to sink with the Titanic, unfortunately. I was playing the violin in the band as it was going down. But I was lucky enough to be around long enough to know that it was going down. And real talk, I got laid off in like April, almost 2 years ago now. And by August, they went bankrupt. And they laid off a whole lot more people and didn't give them a severance and didn't give them they were going bankrupt. They just let them go and said, sorry, kid. So my instincts proved me right. I was on the right path and I knew I was smart enough, which made me feel a whole lot better about my end of days, because I could have walked out of there with 2 middle fingers in the air and a bitter edge and a bitter taste in my mouth. And how dare they screw me? We could have made it all the way, baby. But nope. It was too little, too late, and I was powerless. So I just swam with the fishes, and I drank at work every day, and I drank and drank and drank, and I kept drinking, and it was great. I was like, I wasn't drunk, but I sure carried a nice, smooth whiskey. Now, at the same time, my boss at the time encouraged it, because he would come in on, I'd be in there before he would, and he'd come in, whatever time he came in, and how's it going, boss? What are we drinking today? Well, I got a smooth Jack Daniels. What do you got? Hey, I'm here to tell the truth, man. I'm telling you, it was the best of times. It was the worst of times. And to mask that pain, it was a lot of marijuana and a lot of booze, because I was thinking, man, this is the promised land. This is where I'm going to see myself retiring from, because the money is popping and it's going to work. And it didn't work. It didn't. It's still in business. It's still out there. It's still happening. I don't even know. I didn't look back I paid attention to the gossip afterwards and watched the bankruptcy happen, but I didn't stay in touch with anybody because I felt like I didn't want to just keep like regurgitating the gossip and the what's going on now and who's there. I didn't care. I just want to move on. And the best part is I had pro wrestling to take me there. I had pro wrestling all of a sudden that opened up a new door in my life that suddenly was like, well, wait a minute. Here's a new opportunity that has arisen. New players entered the kingdom. It's called pro wrestling. And we will talk about that on Monday. Oh, I know. You got to sit all weekend and wait before Christmas, before Santa comes on Monday to tell you how and why I became Halston Boddy. Oh, you tease. But listen, we've been talking for almost an hour and a half, and that is the wrap on Loot Crate, kids. I thank them to this day, and I'm sad that it didn't work out the way I thought it was going to work out. But that sadness is gone because I got through it and I walked away with a plethora of business skills, life skills, LinkedIn skills, new horizons in the corporate world that translates to the day-to-day world and translated to the wrestling world. And we'll talk about all that on Monday. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for sticking it out until for this whole hour and a half. I appreciate it. Please tune in on Monday. Please, if you are listening, thank you for listening on the Spotify network, on the Apple Podcast Network, on iTunes, on the Podbean Network. We are getting down to the nitty gritty. I feel like this podcast will likely be over on Christmas. So we got about 1 week because I'm going to talk about how I got into pro wrestling. And then that's a wrap because this is how we are going to change our life. And this is why I am Halston Boddy. And this is why I'm here today, living my bester life, my more best life than I ever thought I did at Loot Crate and any other job, because this is where I am. And I'm so happy to be here. So thank you again, all of my listeners, new and old, my 13 listeners. I appreciate you letting me be long-winded on this one because that, is almost like therapy for me. And I will gladly expound on it in the book. But as I say, every week, every time, and you can sing along, it's going to be the tagline in the book. Tell a friend, tell a neighbor, tell your mom, tell your dad, tell your sister, tell your brother, tell a friend, tell everyone. You have been listening to New Job. Who dis?